G'day, I'm Warwick Schiller and welcome back to the Principles of Training. Welcome back to the Principles of Training. In this episode, I want to talk about how you can build connection with your horse by matching steps with them. It's a very simple thing you can do. You can do it anywhere, anytime. But the first place I want to show you how to do it is when you're hand grazing. It's a really good place to build connection with your horse. Let's take Bundy over to the grass and I'll show you what I mean. So today I want to talk about some things, I think some people call them rituals of connection, but ways to have a better connection with your horse. And the ones I'm going to show you today have a lot to do with grazing. If you have the opportunity to go and graze with your horse, one of the things you can do is just stand around with them, like when they're grazing, stand with them and stand with your feet exactly the same way their feet are. Like right now Bundy's got 1 foot forward and 1 foot back, and you can just stand here and put your hand on his wither or whatever and just wait with them. Just be present. You know, you can focus on your breathing or you can focus on listening to the birds. I can hear quite a few birds around here right now, and when they move with them, and that's all you are doing. Every time they move a step, you move a step. If they don't move a step, you don't move a step. And you know, Mark Rashid talks a lot about passive leadership, and this is passive leadership, meaning I'm allowing him to call the shots. I'm basically doing whatever it is that he is doing. Hanging out with your horse while they're grazing is a really good connection building thing anyway, even if you don't do this. So I'd say that the first step would be just hanging out with them while they're grazing. If they live out in a pasture and they graze, just go out and sit out there while they're grazing. Don't expect anything of them. But if you take them somewhere, like I've got Bundy on a lead here, and I've taken him over here to eat some of this grass, ryegrass that I planted late last year, hanging with them like this is good, but one step better is having your feet exactly the same way they are. And some horses will move quite a bit. Some horses will, you know, be very, very slow. He's got a lot of grass here, so he doesn't have to move around very much. So that can help that. And this, you know, passive leadership is where you are, by your actions, you're still being a leader, but you're allowing them to call the shots, sort of thing. And that leadership role will go back and forth. So something I could do right now is something that can help you when your horse wants to eat the grass and you can't get their head up. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, so he's been leading up to this point in time. I've been allowing him to lead and I've been mirroring him. I've had my legs exactly the same way as his. But then I might go, okay, I'm going to take over the leadership role and we're going to go for a walk. And we might walk over here, and then I'm going to let him go back to eating. Now I'm going to go back to being passive leader again. So I've got my feet set up exactly the same way he's got his feet set up. And so you can almost leapfrog that leadership role. Sometimes he's calling the shots. Sometimes you're calling the shots. And like I said, I can't show you much with my legs here because Bundy's not really moving a whole lot. But just those things right there can help a great deal. The whole mirroring with your front legs while they are grazing. I'll tell you what, we'll drag him over the arena and I'll show you something else you can do that really helps with this whole connection thing a great deal. So one of the things I've been trying to do with my horses for quite a while is when I'm leading them, I'm going to try to match their footsteps. So I'm going to lead Bundy forward here and I'm going to try to stay in the same footsteps that he's in. And it's so so I'm calling the speed. He's going with me, but I'm not making his footsteps match my footsteps. I'm trying to match my footsteps to his footsteps. And I really think that does something for the relationship between you and your horse. And I'm not so much sure if it's the fact that they know you are matching their foot. I'm trying to match footsteps and talk to you guys at the same time. I'm not quite sure if they know that you are matching their footsteps or they know you're present. Because in order to match their footsteps, you can't be thinking about what you're going to do. Oh, when I get over there, I'm going to put the saddle on. You're not doing that. You are mentally right here with them. And I'm really unsure if they notice you're matching. I'm pretty sure they do. They notice you're matching, but something you have to do to match footsteps with them is be present. And last year when I was going to group therapy, one of the things they said for people who have, when people are having a bit of an emotional moment, like say you're getting mad at somebody or you're starting to get anxiety and you're starting to think about future events, is to do what they call the half smile. And the half smile is where you do like a Mona Lisa smile. You do the world's tiniest smile. And they say what you want to do is you want to engage the muscles in the corners of your mouth so slightly that no one else could know that you were doing it. And the thing about that is if you are having some anxiety, you're thinking about a future event which is causing you to have some anxiety, and you whack on a big old fake smile like this, wah, you can still think about your future scenario while you are got the big old fake smile whacked on. But that half smile, it's so subtle that you can't actually do it while you're thinking about something else. You've really got to concentrate on it. So I think that, because I said to the therapist there, I said, so what does that half smile do? What physiologically does it do? What does it change? And they really couldn't give me a good answer for it. And I said to him, is it because in order to do it, you have to be present? You can't do that half smile and not be present. Okay, like right now, Bundy's not present. He's chewing on that rope, which I'm very, very aware of. I am just not feeling the need to fix it right here because I want to get this thing out and talk to you guys. But yeah, so, being present, I think, has a lot to do with a lot of this stuff. And, while I'm walking around here, I've been trying to talk to you guys, match stats with him and control Bundy here. And he doesn't usually chew on the rope this much, but I think the reason he's chewing on this rope is because a lot of times when I've been with him lately, I've been very present. And right now I'm not being very present because I'm talking to you guys. Hey, beautiful. You go over there. Thank you. So here's another little thing I learned a little while ago. I'm not sure I've got this on video. If your horse is trying to chew on you or coming into your space, just take your finger and push on the side of their head. So if they keep coming into space, just take your finger, push on the side of their head, push them over there. They'll come back, take your finger, push on the side of the head, push them over there. And after a while, they will just stay away, but you're not buying into it, so you're not having a wrestle with them. You're not allowing them to do it. You just basically, it's almost passive resistance, but you just push them over there. And it's just right in here that you put your finger. It's like in the TMJ, or you can put it down here just on the side of the jaw right there. But you just push them over there, push them over there, push them over there. I actually had there we go, and usually that's what happens after you do it, is they'll have a big old lick and chew. I had a horse at a clinic in Australia in March of this year, a dressage horse that has a lot of emotional issues, and while I was working with him on the ground, he was half trying to chomp me, and so I just did that thing right there that I did with Bundy, pushing his head away like that. And I did that for probably, I'd been telling people I'd been working on it with different horses, and I said sometimes it might take you 15 or 20 times pushing them over there for it to actually work. But after a while they just stay gone, but they don't have any, there's no argument, so they don't have any concern about you while you're fixing the issue. Anyway, so this big dressage horse, he was like, it was constant, so he he did that, and after about 10 minutes of, oh, not 10 minutes, 10 times of me pushing him away, he stood there for a minute, so he was all agitated, and then about 2 minutes later, he did exactly what Bundy just did. He just dropped and rolled in the arena. And I said to her, does he normally roll in places like this? And she said, no, you're going to stay there like that? You're going to sit up for us real pretty like that? Oh, what a good boy you are. Yeah, she's a good little man. You're a funny man, aren't you? You're the funny man. Ah, you're a funny man. Can you smile? Oh, you're smiling. Big smile. Big smile. But anyway, so that's exactly what that horse did at this clinic, just by pushing that away right there. And he's having big old licks and chews. He had a big old yawn when I did it, so it's pretty amazing how that works. Oh, yes, I know, you got a big smile. Yes, you're a very, very funny man. Oh, you're up, you're done? Oh, yes, you're a funny man. You're a funny man. So anyway, those are just some little rituals of connection that can help you out with your horse in your just day-to-day activities. So matching steps is a really good way to build connection with your horse, just like we saw with grazing or when you're leading them around. And I really have tried to get into a habit of whenever I'm leading my horses, I'm trying to match their steps, and it really keeps you present. And as I've said before, that being present is something that keeps these horses feeling comfortable and safe because we're aware of things. But there's certain situations I probably wouldn't try to do the matching steps. If your horse is all wound up and wanting to run around, things like that, if you try to go with them there and match steps, they're probably going to want to get faster and faster and faster and faster, might get a fright, might kick out at you, so that's not the place to do that. So if you want to match steps, make sure, online at least, make sure your horse is not in that really wound up situation. If they're in that really wound up situation, just do like I've talked in previous episodes and redirect that attention back to you. Just give them, give them a certain amount of rope, and if they hit the end of the rope, redirect their attention back to you. If they're not really thinking about hanging around here, or at least being slow, it's a little bit hard to do that matching steps. Okay, so just make sure that if they're trying to leave, they're trying to get too fast and that sort of stuff, you may want to take over that leadership role and redirect their attention back to you. Another place that's really good for matching steps is if a horse is loose in the pasture. Okay, they're out there in their pasture walking around, let's say they're grazing, that's a really good place to build connection, because what you can do is you can get a long way away from them. So you can stay below their threshold of running away. If you've got a horse that you can't catch, you can go out there in their pasture and just, let's say they're grazing. Walk along until you get to the point where their head kind of raises up, they notice you. Then just stop right there, and that's their threshold. If you go any closer, you'll start to put them over threshold and they'll start to run around. So you don't want to get that happening. So all you can do is just stop there. They may go back to grazing, and so right then, you could just, from that distance, match steps while they're grazing. Okay, I actually did this a couple of years ago in Kenya with some zebra. I didn't actually do the matching steps thing, but I would see how close I could get to them. I'd walk towards the herd of zebra, and they're all grazing, and when one stopped and raised his head up, I would stop and just stand there and just wait. And when their alarm system stopped being activated and they went back to grazing, they'd put their head down. Then after a while, I might see if I can go a bit closer. And if their head raised up, I'd do that. So you can do kind of the same thing as I did with the zebras, but except I would match steps. And so this is really good for a horse that you can't catch, that they're quite a long way away from you. Just make sure you stay under that threshold, and they may just graze. You may end up grazing and matching steps. They may actually turn and walk off from you and go for a bit of a wander. You can just, because you're under that threshold, you're not making them run away, they're just walking, you can walk and match steps right then. I tried it here a minute ago with Sherlock, and as soon as I start matching steps with him, it will just trigger his attention, he'll come back to me. So you can also use it to catch a horse. So not only can the matching steps help you connect with a horse that's loose, it could actually help you catch a horse that might be wanting to run away from you. Recently at a clinic, I had a girl in the clinic, and her horse looked everywhere but at her. He was actually looking back to the stables that he came from, and so, her handling him, everything was pointing out. He was really pulling away from her a lot. And at one point in time, he actually got loose from her in the arena. I said to her, just match his footsteps. All I want you to do is keep your footsteps the same as his. And right here, she should have moved a little bit further away from him. You might notice he went to his left. She should have moved over further to her left. And see, she's almost chasing him right now, which is not what you want to do. So at the time I said, no, you've got to drop your flag, because the flag was scaring him too. And right here I was telling her, I want you to be parallel to him. And notice her feet are pointing towards him, and I kept telling her, point your feet parallel to him. Like, not like that, not like that, not like that, not towards him, not towards him. I don't want your feet pointing there you go, parallel to him. That's all I wanted her to do. And when he moves, she's supposed to move. So right here, he took a step to the right and she didn't, so then I had to tell her, hey, you got to take a step to your right. Perfect. And then he starts going. Now she's got to keep going. And as he moves towards her a little bit, she should move further away. And right, see, he moved to his right, and she was supposed to move to her right there, but she's kind of getting the hang of it. And then she started chasing him right here. Okay, and I said, you got to not chase him. You got to make sure you are just mirroring what he does. And then she started putting her head down to eat the grass, which is not necessary. But then she kind of got lost and wasn't matching footsteps again. But then I just had her stand there. If he wants to look up, that's fine. Just match his steps. I would prefer she had her right foot flat on the ground right now, because his front feet are square. And so I had her just stand there for a bit. If he moved a little foot like that and like that, she could move hers. She's actually got her feet opposite to where his are right now. And then she just got to wait a little longer. And then he started turning, so she should turn. Perfect. Okay, so he's still very fixated on back at home again, isn't he? He's still fixated over there. That's all right. She's just matching her footsteps. And you've got to do this with the intention of just matching footsteps, not matching footsteps with the idea you're going to get a certain outcome. And after a while, these horses will become aware of the fact that you have no intention, you're not trying to do anything to them, but you're very aware of what they're doing. And so she's just going to match his footsteps again. He's still looking up the thing right there. Okay, she's not terribly worried about it. Well, I'm telling her not to be terribly worried about it. And then right here, he looks up there, but he hasn't moved his feet. She should have her right foot back right now. Then he goes back to grazing again, moves his feet, she moves her feet. She had a hard time hearing me, so she kept turning around asking me what was going on. See, she's moving her feet, and right here I said, just move further back away from him so you don't put as much pressure on him. So if he starts moving again, your energy is not making him go faster. If you get far enough away from him, so he steps over here, she steps over here, he starts walking this way, so she's walking this way, she's still walking this way, she's still walking this way, and for some reason, right about here, she thinks she should jog. She tried to take over right there. We don't want to take over. All we want to do is just match their steps. You're not trying to influence them, you're just trying to let them know how much you are paying attention. And then he comes up to her, and right there, he's back with her. Licks his lips. So it didn't really take all that much for that to happen. Then right here, I said to her, what I want you to do right now is just match steps with him and let him lead. Okay, so she's going to match footsteps with him and let him take over the leadership role. And he's just going to walk back over to the grass. And so once again, we're back to the grazing thing. We're back to matching footsteps while grazing. She's supposed to be matching his footsteps right here. She's actually pointing at me, listening to what I had to say, but I'd rather she stood facing the same way he's facing, with her feet in the same direction, and just allow him to graze there. So you're not trying to influence him here at all. She's just allowing him to graze. And she, like I said, she should be matching his footsteps. And then right here, I said, why don't you just bring him over here? And I want you to watch what happens here when she leads him away, how easily he follows her. Okay, so she's about to lead him off here in a minute. So I said, all I want you to do is just pick up on that rope. So you can see right here, as she turns and walks off, and initially there's a little bit of resistance, but then he just turns and he follows her, and just have a look at how relaxed he is right there. So he's just gone from being really intent about things up the hill. She matched footsteps with him and got him aware that she's aware. And then when she goes and leads him off away from there, he just follows along like a little pet lamb. And that's the only time all day, or up until that point in time, that he'd actually been anywhere around her. He'd actually been right there. All the rest of the time he was just peeling off, looking off here, thinking somewhere else was a great place to be. So That matching footsteps is a great way to build connection, and as I've mentioned earlier, I try to get into the habit of doing it every time I lead a horse. And what I usually notice is when I go, oh, I'm not matching steps, I realize I was not present here. I was thinking about what I was going to do when I got to where I was going. I was thinking about what I was going to do when I rode the horse. I was thinking about something that had just happened. I was thinking about other things. And so, you know, it's one of the simplest things you can do, because you always lead a horse somewhere. So if you can always think about matching those footsteps while you're leading that horse somewhere, it'll really help you stay present. And as I've mentioned many times in this series, that whole staying present is something that really, really helps these horses feel safe in their environment. So I hope that helps you out with some connection with your horse. Don't forget to join us next time on the Principles of Training, and we'll look at some other ways you can either get your horse relaxed or help you stay more mentally present.